Hello, everybody. Holly's not here tonight. It's just yours truly. Holly has, she's predisposed doing other fun things, I hope. But Katie Adams Anderton is going to join us in a little bit. We're going to talk about some stuff going on in Utah, all that. But Um, first, I'm gonna spool everything up, get it going, get it rolling, and then we'll move into it. Hope everybody's had a good week. It's been a uh kind of a hot week, kind of weird. It was fairly comfortable there for a minute, then it got hot, and yeah, hopefully soon we'll be heading back into the not hot. Tonight we're going to be talking about mostly this oh Utah senator. Sounds like he's got both sides of the aisle spooled up. He changed a lot to benefit his family, so we're gonna dig into that a little bit more tonight. Should be a quick show tonight. Hopefully it's a fun one, a good one, enjoyable. Humana. And then, of course, we'll be talking about anything that anyone else has a mind to talk about. Okay, so I've got to do all the sharing. Holly's not here to soak up the talking space while I do this. I apologize deeply for that. But we'll just have small chat. And while I get it spooled up, and of course, we would love to have everybody chime in on what they think about it. Tell us if we're wrong about it. Yeah. I don't know. I can, reading about the law, I can kind of see the point to it, but then again, it gets kind of creepy. I don't know. I want to dig into it more. I didn't have a chance to really go hard at it. And it's just, the dirty part of it is, if there's a lawmaker making laws to benefit his family, or any, to pinpoint benefit anyone, to single out anyone, to turn especially criminal law. I mean, it gets so grungy when it gets into that. But we're going to talk about that. Let me get these sharing done, and then we'll be back into it. Shouldn't take long, I hope. Yeah, I know. Katie's here now, so we'll pull her in. Katie, how are you?
Good. Sorry, my Facebook was being goofy.
Your Facebook was being what?
Goofy.
Okay. Hey, you know what? I'm glad you made it.
Oh,
What gets goofy? I'm just doing the sharing and the chatting, and then we got a couple of quick, like, local announcements to make. I know this is the horrible, boring part while I try to get the word out that we're on, so that people come and join us, and hopefully one day I'll get somebody who does this for me, because I always end up sharing it to the wrong places as I go through here. There's so many different groups. But how has your week been?
my week's been good. Just working a lot right now.
Still working for the Canadian company?
I am. Yeah, I go to Canada in a couple of weeks, so
Oh, where at in Canada?
Toronto.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've
So, what's
never
Toronto like? Have you been there yet?
no, I've never been. I've been to like, your typical like tourist areas of Canada, like Niagara.
Hmm.
Uh, but I haven't been to Toronto before. It should be interesting.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. My doctor I met with this week, he travels a lot. And he was like, I love Toronto, and he gave me a list of restaurants to go to. Um, which I was kind of appreciative of.
Yeah.
So we'll
Heck yeah,
see.
those are the most important parts is tasting the cuisine.
Right. And I'm very like, I don't like Canadian cuisine doesn't like strike me as something that's like very talked about. So it's not like even you can see even the Brits, like people talk all the time of how terrible it is. Like
Mm.
you don't even get that for like Canadian cuisine. It's just like
I hear a lot of poutine
yes.
and
I've
Tim Hortons donuts or something.
Tim Hortons is a big deal. I've like learned from this job that like they're very very loyal to Canadian brands, which I can appreciate because like
Oh,
I
Tim
know,
Hortons is? So,
yeah, I'm fairly certain they started in
okay.
Canada. So, because
Or
like
Canadians are loyal to Canadian brands.
Canadians are loyal to Canadian brands.
Okay.
So, and I can appreciate that because like I am
Hmm.
as well. Because like if I see a brand that's from like Utah or Pennsylvania, like that's where I'm going first, or even Ohio.
Hmm.
So I'm very like I just bought T-shirts from this random company in Youngstown because
Oh,
like
really?
yeah, because they,
Like,
they were in Youngstown.
yeah, that's where you're originally from. Like, what kind of t-shirts? What's on them?
One says like it's weirdly enough food references. Um, one's like in so in that part of the world we have this dish. It's called like Italian wedding soup. Um, and it's like till meatballs do us part and stuff. Like it's really cheeky. One's like related to bocce and like how serious. I don't know if you've ever played bocce,
I
but
break it down. What's
well,
bocce?
bocce is basically an Italian game, yard game that you like throw a ball as close as you can to this other ball, and it gets very very competitive and like crazy. So it's
So
kind
is
of a
it
reference
kind
to
of
that.
like is it kind of like the oh, what's that game you find on kind of a mix of horseshoes and curling and all it's
Yeah,
yes, okay.
yeah, yeah. And I grew up playing it, and I love it. But it's funny because like we have the Italian league here. Like
Mm-hmm.
sometimes the men will play, and they literally have to measure stuff by a string because they'll be like, I'm much closer, than and so they're out there with a string measuring it. It's wild.
That does sound like it'd be a fun game.
Love it. Yeah, I'm a personal huge fan of it. So
Well, next time we meet up, you should set up a bocce
bocce game.
game.
Yeah, that might be something good to do because I don't know if many people play it as much anymore. It's really sad, but yeah, we could do that.
Yes, yes. I like a good yard drinking game. Cornhole's always fun.
Cornhole
Um,
is a top tier. Do you know they have like competitive cornhole now? Like ESPN has it sometimes playing.
you know the best is if you look up Quidditch, the Harry Potter game.
Yeah, that's weird.
Now
Like,
you know Utah and Idaho used to have teams, but they fought so much that the National Quidditch Association kicked Utah and Idaho out. And maybe Utah and Idaho can get back in the good graces and start another team.
that's just adults that are like hardcore into Disney, like Like, and Disney is like, they're not Disney, Harry Potter. Harry Potter's my generation, and it's like
Uh-huh.
sometimes these people like it's like Disney adults, and you're just like, it's like, listen, I think you've taken this to a whole new level.
Well, it started out as a drunken game on a college campus. Of course, a fraternity get drunk and
Yeah, I
wanted
mean
something to do.
that
And
makes that makes sense.
yeah, I don't know if it really has a tie back to Harry Potter anymore like it used to.
Yeah, I'll have to
It's
look.
just
It says like when I googled it, it said a dangerous sport, and I'm just like, how? Like,
it's it's a good co-ed sport. I mean, I've watched a few of the matches myself, and I've rather enjoyed it.
I mean, I'm here for it. I just like I love a good game. I'm really like I like sports though, so
Yeah.
that's just
Yes.
crazy.
Okay, let me get on with this quick announcement. All right, everyone. Grantsville out here in western Utah. If anyone doesn't know where Grantsville is, watching Grantsville is off of I-80 out do you take exit 99 or that's the one that goes by Lake Point or the new exit just past it, which I don't know the mile marker for. But anyways, Grantsville City Park on Saturday, September 6th, they're having the Constitution Day, and it's to celebrate the initiation of the Revolutionary War is Constitution Day. As far as I understand, it's at 2 to 8 p.m. They're going to have some fireworks. They're going to have people dressed up as important historical figures. They're going to have some games. It's colonial and Bill of Rights games, musical performances, and folk dancing, and of course, food vendors. As always, a big hit at all these Grantsville events are the Vegays Navajo tacos. If you have questions or want to volunteer, call Delitra Talbot. That's 435 919 2517, or Marcus Rose. That's 435 979 3451. And she actually sent me a quick message about this. It's celebrating the 250th anniversary of the beginning of the Revolutionary War. So it's the 250th birthday of the United States Army. To do 250th anniversary of Paul Revere's Midnight Ride. Um, yeah. Trying to see. They've got a Henry Wadsworth Longfellow poem reenactment, and they're going to open with the flag ceremony with the naval cadets from there, I believe in Grantsville. Going to have a reading of the Declaration in the Round, which is an amazing experience. It brings that breakup letter to life. Not to mention fun music from Hamilton. Jen Brown will be there. Uh, Gonna have historical figures kind of putting on like a kind of a little play to introduce you to what they did. It'd be sounds like it'd be a good thing to especially bring your kids to, and then stick around for the food and fireworks and all of that stuff. So I'll get these numbers up. Well, actually, go to our Facebook page. I'll just have this Constitution Day announcement listed there for anyone who's interested in joining that. And yeah, so it's on September 6th. Jordan says, don't forget the huge announcement. Jared is awesome. Okay, what's up? What's up, Jordan? Thank you, Jordan. You're awesome. And he says, it's a Jared and Katie party without Holly. Where's Holly at? Holly had to work. She got drug into work, which I got out of work late tonight, which is why we're starting a half hour late, but made it through, and all is right with the world there. So, kind of have a heavy subject tonight that seems to be hitting both sides of the political divide. Uh, Katie, why don't you go ahead and tell us about this? It's a lawmaker story.
Yeah. So this past week, or past 2 weeks, I should say, it came out that, some people feel that Stuart Adams used his political power, authority, um, connections to, um, help help pass a law that benefited his one of his family members. And so it's been very interesting to see kind of what all that is looking like. Because like the bill in question was related to, certain criminal charges. And so basically, the law just helped a relative of his who was facing charges for basically sex crimes against a child, and was because of the change in the law. People feel like he got basically an easier, a more favorable convictions for what he did. So it's very interesting right now because it's very clear that, like, at the beginning the Democrats were the ones really being like, hey, this, like, Stuart Adams needs to step down, but it does appear that some conservatives are now starting to call for him to step down as well, which is really interesting.
Well, let's uh let's lay down the law real quick. It's SB 213.
Yeah.
So State Bill 213, and what the law does is it states that if an 18-year-old is still in high school, he will not be charged as an adult.
Right.
Um, and it looks like it breaks down. He will not be charged as an adult across the board. So that's all crimes.
Hmm.
Um, I don't think it. Well, no, this just goes to sexual crimes. Okay.
Right.
So if an 18-year-old is still in high school, he will be not be charged as an adult. And um, the bill was sponsored by Senator Collimore and Representative Lisenby.
Yeah.
Um, I'm not familiar with either of them. Let's see. Uh,
Cullimore
Collimore.
Cullimore is like a really big attorney.
Okay.
And so he comes from a line of attorneys, and like he's really well known in the space of, basically, like, if you rent in the state of Utah, it's very likely that the law firm that he is associated with is the one that you're signing a contract with.
Mm.
And they do a lot of, like, basically, like, rental situations. Lisenby, I don't she's newer to the representatives.
Are they both Republicans?
They are both Republicans, yeah.
Okay.
And
Now,
to keep in mind too, I think it's really important to know the age of these people involved. You have an
well,
18-year-old that's his relative, and then you have a 13-year-old girl.
yes, I wanted to get into that. So this law seems like it modifies onto kind of our what do they call it, Romeo and Juliet law,
Hmm.
where an 18-year-old, and then you've got like a 4-year window down to 14, keeps it. It can still be a crime, but it kind of keeps it from being as harsh.
Right.
And that always sat there like, so if a high school senior dated a freshman, they could still get in trouble, but it kept it from being as harsh. This one, this makes it so that under that crime, it protects that 18-year-old from being charged as an adult.
Right.
But when it crosses into that 13-year-old ground, that breaks all the way outside of. I mean, that means that this guy had to have been shopping at the junior high school.
Right, and that was something that was very it was a junior the Salt Lake Tribune said it was a junior high student, and so it's like I've seen it in Pennsylvania, and I've known people who have been in trouble with this because of, let's say they have a relationship with someone who's 16, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who's 18. They're an adult, they're 16. And I think over time, but 13 is just that's too much of an age difference. Like you know what I mean? Like this like a 13-year-old, I don't even know. I think the age of consent in Utah is like 14. So like no
Yes.
matter what, it's like this person can't in theory consent.
Well, technically, the age of consent is 18 in Utah, but they give that a leeway down to 14. It's a weird thing. Like they're like, but here's where I get. Um, look, if a high school senior dates a high school freshman, obviously they're in the same school, they're around each other a lot. But I think if a high school senior jumps down to the junior high or the middle school, I don't see an excuse for that.
I
They're not in
totally
the
agree.
same school. That means that to me feels predatory.
Yeah.
And so this is a predatory. Now, this happened in 2004. And also, the incident happened in 2004. So it's like it just came
Well,
out that,
no, so Adams was charged in 2023.
oh,
The
in
relative,
2023.
yeah, so the relative was charged in 2023, not 2004. So this is
And
like,
it took that long for them to snatch the kid up because, I mean, if he's charged, was it just because they got this in there before he went to trial? How did this work?
what do you mean? I'm not sure if I'm understanding because
Well,
like
this law came out in 2024.
the law came out in 24. The kid was charged with the crime in 2023.
Was it like late in 2023
Um,
to
I
where this law would kind of go into place before the
it,
18-year-old went to trial?
yeah, and I'm not too sure like how that time frame work if the law, you know what I mean, because you have the individual getting charged in 2023, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then in 2024 session that next year, you have um Kirk Cullimore, Senator Cullimore coming out with this bill. Do you know what I mean? And so I think the troubling part for a lot of people is the timeline of it all. You know what I mean? Because it's like, okay, how did we get so and so charged in 2023? Because those kind of crimes take a while, so I'm not surprised he hadn't been charged or convicted and all that jazz
Well,
yet.
just going to court on anything takes months. On anything. I mean, going to court on just on a speeding ticket takes 2 weeks.
Right.
You
And
know,
so to
well,
hear
actually, it takes 2 weeks to contact them. To go to court, to stand in front of it, probably a month. So I imagine this one's where it's a lot bigger.
yeah,
I
and like
just go on.
yeah, no, and so this is what it says is that 2 months later after it passed and that it changed the law, the prosecutors offered him the 18-year-old a plea deal. So, and it kind of is of the what I've read is that the government had changed their offer in the plea deal because of the passing of that law.
Mm, what was the plea deal? Um,
Um, let me look.
okay, it says in where right now I'm reading off of Jezebel, the story you sent me. It says, and they changed retroactively. Okay, the senator claims that because the new legislation was not enforced retroactively, he did not intend for it to help his family member. But people who helped him draft the law sing a different tune. According to the judge, prosecutor, and defense attorney in the case, the relatives' situation was pivotal part of the decision to amend the policy. Mm. Yeah, this is straight up.
Yeah,
He
it
changed the law. He changed the law to protect his family member.
right. He would,
It says,
and to give you an idea, the plea agreement, according to the Salt Lake Tribune, is that he would get a reduced charge, no jail time, because he had already served a little, and then would not have to register as a sex offender.
see the. So it says in there he could have gotten 25 years.
Yeah,
Would he have gotten 25 years being a part of a notable family? Probably not, but he could have gotten 25 years. And
right.
he could have been registered as a sex offender. Um, I don't want to argue about should he have got any of those things, but I don't think that a new law should have been written to protect his nephew, child, brother, cousin, whatever it was. I don't think a new law should have been written to protect him, especially at the cost of a 13-year-old girl's well-being.
Right. And I think that's the hardest thing here is that no matter what Adams says, there is no good way to paint this as um not as an abuse of power. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Seriously.
and like I think if you like change the law, right? And it's like something minor. It's like, some car thing, right? That's real minor, whatever, you know. And but this is like, the Republican Party a lot of the times will say we're the party that protects children, right? But then you have stuff like this happens and you go, I don't believe anything you say when it comes to your belief that you protect children. Because it's very clear from this action you don't care as much as
Well,
you like us to believe.
if you take a step back, he may have been protecting his child. It's a sad way to
His
put it.
relative, yeah.
But
But I just struggle with like this idea of like, someone was hurt and what repercussions is there?
yeah, no, it should be. So it says on, both sides, Utah conservatives, this comes from the Tribune. Utah conservatives call for GOP Senate president to step down during Capitol rally. And the picture they've got, Jason Preston. I'll go ahead and show it on screen real quick. Bear with me while I try to figure out how to drive the internet here. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. There we go. All right. So we've got Jason Preston has a rally. It looks like the conservatives are out to run him out. So I don't know what chance this guy has. He may have sacrificed his place in there to.
The only thing that saves him, Stuart Adams, is time.
Mm,
Because that election won't start until next year. I'm gonna
that's
see.
still awful soon. That's
Yeah.
still awful soon. If he had like 3 years, I would agree with you. But man, that is awful soon.
Yeah, because I'm looking at how much money he has in his like one pack account, and he already has $26,000 in there for
Mm-hmm.
donations. So he has a little bit of a step, but like
Will he
it's
get
just
any more?
yeah. Well, I think people.
And it also depends on where he's at. What district is he out of?
Oh, he's up north.
Okay. So it depends on the demographic up there and if he has someone that primaries him.
Yeah.
You know, the demographics, I mean, could it change that area to Democrat? Doubt it.
Yeah.
Um,
It's Davis County.
and Davis County does have a chance of going Democrat in some areas, but I still doubt it.
I doubt it. Yeah, I don't
It
think
all
so.
depends on the primary. If he has a primary challenger. But of course, you look at the election side of it because you've worked in elections a lot. Me, I look at that situation's awful gross side, and I hope someone challenges him into the dirt.
It would be interesting to see if anyone challenges him. I just worry about his fundraising ability because, like, unless the person has the support of the main GOP party, I don't think they can beat him.
I think the main GOP party may have to separate themselves from him.
I would wonder.
This is making national news.
Right.
You know, I mean, let's look at it. I'm going to say something here that, no offense to any Democrats out there, but the Republicans historically is the only party that will hold their members accountable when they cross a line.
The Republicans?
Yes.
Yeah, and I definitely have seen that whole situation more and more. It's just interesting to see if they'll do it here because I think for Adams, I think he is a huge part of what the GOP party is. It's going to be really interesting because like when they go into session, I think for like a week next month, and I think
Mm-hmm.
that'll be really telling like if we get any information from electives in the Republican side of the deal to see like if there's any internal, but they tend to like very much back each other up. So it'll be so interesting.
It could be, but I mean, let's look at it. I mean, George Santos wasn't kicked out by the Democrats.
True.
Richard Nixon wasn't impeached by the Democrats.
No. No,
So
and it's true. It's just interesting. I
now,
feel like
granted,
go ahead.
well, I was just going to say, granted, they also talked about some reforms that might have angered their fellow party members at the same time. So,
Right.
you take the bad with the bad, but I I don't know if he'll make it through this. He might make it through this just fine. Um, Again, I haven't had a reason to vote again. You know, I had a reason last time to vote, and that's because
Presidential.
Kamala Harris made me vote. She forced me to do it. She twisted my arm. Other than that, you know, to me, all government and both sides are pretty crappy.
See, and I like voting. I don't know. I just like being feeling like I have a say in it all. And like right now, I'm in Lehigh, and like we have the possibility of having a new mayor. You know what I mean? And so it's just really interesting to see how
Talk
that goes.
about a place that's grown.
Hmm. Yeah, it's huge. And so like, and especially right now too, because it's just like I think everywhere in Utah we struggle sometimes with like our infrastructure with roads because like we just don't have them yet. You know what I mean? Because we're such a new area. Because I go back to Pennsylvania and it's like, wow, they have all the roads to everywhere, and you have to remind yourself that Utah just isn't there yet.
Well, and also most of the roads in Pennsylvania are toll.
Yeah, a lot of it's toll.
It's crazy. You get out there and then you read the history of them, and here's again crappy government. They always come down. We're going to put in a toll road. It's going to be a toll that lasts this many years, and that was in like the 60s they put it in.
Hmm.
And when I was in Pennsylvania was 2016, 17, and there's still a toll.
They're still there. And
And they
that
said this toll will be 8 years to pay for itself. And then they're greedy. They see how much money they get and oh, we can control so much stuff and they keep the toll forever.
right. And especially now the tolls have changed to be like they can take photo of your plates
Mm-hmm.
and then send your bill to you, which sucks,
Mm-hmm.
and so there's just so much with it. But no, the toll situation is crazy. And the hard thing is like in Lehigh, we have a problem where our roads are being utilized for people to get westward to Eagle Mountain and Saratoga Springs, and the roads we have there are not built for the large amount of traffic needed to get out to the west side of the
No,
county.
10 years ago you were a farm town.
Right. And that's the craziest thing is like I've lived in Utah now for 13 years. Yeah, 13 years this month. And like like I remember when I drove through Lehigh and like there was nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just vastly changed.
Yes.
Jordan,
Okay, Jordan says he met Jason Preston. He's for accountability. Jason is an interesting guy. He is.
I've
He
never
also
met him.
says, "What's that?"
I've never met Jason Preston.
I've met him. Yeah, he's a nice guy. He's rather intense. Always switched on. Uh, I think that would burn me out, but I like to be a little more affable in life. He says, yeah, American Fork and Lehigh both have mayoral elections this year. Yeah, good times. Tooele has a mayoral election this year. Hopefully, and Grantsville. I think the mayor election is through a lot of the state. Does Salt Lake have a mayoral election this year?
Some of the like minor cities, I guess you could call it, what I would.
Like Taylorsville, Kearns.
Yeah, some of them. Like I know
Okay.
Kearns has one right now. Um, it's crazy because like I working for Representative Matthews last election cycle, you got to meet a lot of the people in the city council. And like the one lady that's running for Kearns Mayor, Tina Snow, on paper Republican, but she's stellar. You know what I mean? Like absolutely stellar of a person. So it should be interesting.
That's a tough thing. You meet some of the people who don't politically align with you, but morally hit the mark. And let's face it, the big difference between Democrats and Republicans nowadays are well, okay. Democrats drove real hard into the woke
Hmm.
and they alienated a lot of the XY chromosomes out there. Um, and the things that scared me about Kamala Harris was her talking about how she needs to control the First Amendment on the internet. That was the big one. And also she's no guns. I'm telling you right
She
now.
has guns though.
She said she has guns after the race started. For
Okay, I
years
see
she
what you're saying.
getting rid of guns. So, and then when it says what kind of gun do you have? She says a Glock. Come on, just because you call out the only name you've ever seen? No. Or what the police officers you worked with in California had?
If
No.
she would have said in 1911, would you have believed it more?
She would have had to tell me the make. She'd have had to tell me something about it. Is it a Kimber? Is it what is she driving? I mean, but no, she came out and preached when she ran against Biden in the primary. She was one of those that says she's getting rid of guns. Not as bad as Beta or Rourke, that dirtbag. And he might be a perfectly fine guy, but if you're anti-gun, I'm anti-you. And if you're
Right.
anti-free speech, I'm anti-you. I want people to be able to say as absurd a thing as they want. I don't want to turn into England where people go to jail for on Facebook saying something goofy or whatever. I don't want that. I
Mhm.
mean, right now, England is, that's something we ought to talk about. Have you followed that raise the flag thing in England that's been going on this week?
No, I have no idea.
Hey, I'll bring a little bit of a story. So traditionally, the English don't fly their flag, right? So you've got the England flag is a white background. It's called the St. George flag. White background with the red cross in it. Kind of, I mean, it reminds you of the, is it the Swiss flag?
So the
But
English flag incorporates like Wales, Scotland.
that's the Union Jack.
Oh, okay.
That's the big one, the Union Jack, because Scotland has the blue background with the white cross. Wales, I don't know what Wales has. Probably something goofy. I mean, they're all proto Americans anyway. But England is so. Anyways, the English, because their government hasn't been listening to them, and we're in a cycle of populism right now, and that's happening around the world. Populists, they call them fascists or whatever, and talk about losing a name because no one believes you anymore.
Mhm.
But it's a populist movement. People want their government to care about them. They're tired of their government putting all their efforts everywhere else. They want their government to either A, leave them alone, or B, if they're going to steal money from them, put some of that money back in to make their life better, right?
Yeah.
And so that's the populist movement. Populism can come from the right, the left, the middle, it can come from anywhere. Well, not right now, the English people are throwing the flags up. Now remember, during COVID and gay pride, these governments were perfectly fine with painting a rainbow stripe everywhere or
Mhm.
painting a Black Lives Matter everywhere. Even if they had no black people anywhere in their community, they were fine with painting Black Lives Matter on the ground. But then the populace wants to throw up their own designated flag, and the people call them fascists and call them, degenerates for it. And so the city, the police go out, arrest people, tear the flags down. Then the people put the flags up again and put them up even higher. So
Right.
I think this is a signal for governments that, one, quit bringing in so many immigrants. And then when you do bring them in, quit putting all of that stolen money towards taking care of them. You're pricing your own populace out of life. And it seems like that's one of the big splits here in the US between the Republicans and the Democrats is the Democrats, and I'm still on the boat, and maybe you can convince me otherwise, is the Democrats do it for numbers so they get more congressional seats.
Mhm.
That's my belief. They don't care about the vote. They care about numbers on the census so they maintain seats. And the Republicans want to remove immigrants from the census to gain more seats for themselves.
Right. And I think the hardest thing here is like one of the things I have a struggle with this idea with immigrants, right? Especially when it comes to like what type of support are they getting? I think it really needs to come down to like a lot of the times, especially with people who are here maybe without going through the proper channels or whatever. Like I think there's sometimes this disconnect of understanding of like how much resources they're getting. You know what I mean? Cuz like I have seen that it is very difficult for someone who isn't um here on, let's say with the right documentation or paperwork, that it struggles to get help, right? Now, I think when there's children involved, that's a completely different scenario. And those kids, even if their parents brought them here, those kids didn't have a choice. Like, I think they should be getting anything help that they can. You know what I mean?
Well, I have a couple arguments against that, but
I, yeah.
you can't break your own bank to support people who broke into your house.
My
You just
problem,
can't. If you offer that, I mean, look at what's that French Macron said to England just last week. He said, "If you guys had quit giving them everything, they'd quit coming." And he's
right.
right.
And
When
my
in
issue
New
is
York last year in New York, hearsay, I didn't go there. You couldn't find a hotel in New York because they had rented out all the rooms to immigrants.
and
Now,
I struggle with
and
that. You know what
huh?
I mean? I struggle with that being, you know, being in New York as many times as I have because I'm like, I don't know if that's real.
When was the last time you were there, though?
Probably within the last 10 years.
Okay, but when was the big immigrant push over the last 4 years?
I don't know.
It was. Biden came out and told him as he was running against Trump, come here. We're going to open the doors to you.
Yeah.
The numbers read it out. So that many numbers came in. They had to do something with them. So they put them up in hotels
Right. So
on the people's dime.
it said in 2023, the US experienced unprecedented increase in immigration with over 3 million people arriving that year. And who would that been?
That was Biden.
That was Biden. Yeah. I
Three
don't know.
million is almost 1% of our national population in 1 year. Drag that out 4 years, that's 4% of our population. That's pretty heavy dilution. And those are the numbers that they counted.
Yeah, it's
Those
what they
aren't the getaways.
right. I don't know.
I mean, remember Adams coming out and saying, this city's broke. What are we going to do?
And that's such an interesting thing because like I was recently talking to a family member who they're a beat cop in Vegas, and they were talking about how basically like the states just shuttle, like, you know, you have like the homeless population, right? And it makes you wonder,
Mm-hmm.
like, are they doing the same with some of these?
Oh, they did,
Like,
and they got caught.
yeah, that's true with the Martha's Vineyard and all that
Mm.
jazz.
No, not just that. Biden was flying them around as well and dropping them off in cities.
Yeah, and I just can't, like, I know in Utah we have a refugee program that's pretty successful here.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you feel about that? Like when the state like Utah is inviting in refugees to live here?
I tend to agree with the national, um, what do you call it, accords that says if you are fleeing somewhere unsafe, you stop at the first safe place to get processed.
So for you, like we're having some of these people come from on the other side of the world, they need to stay somewhere closer to where they're from. Like, do you feel like you
Yes, obviously.
okay?
And let me make some arguments why. They'll have more cultural commonality. More than likely, they'll be able to communicate with each other and they'll be able to become self sufficient.
Hmm.
When your ancestors came here, did they come here and receive aid from the state to live here?
No, mine did not,
No,
but
they did not. When everyone talks about that Ellis Island, they didn't come here and get processed and then get on the dole of the state. They came here and they were self sufficient. You cannot have this is the death. Anytime any country has tried this, Rome played this game. Some of
mhm,
your ancestors. How are the Romans doing? Is Rome still a thing? No, it
yeah.
is not. Rome destroyed itself through bread and circus and bringing in foreigners and then throwing the wealth of the people who live there at those foreigners.
I think that's simplification of why Rome didn't succeed. I think some of
Oh,
the
that's
issues
just a
too.
part of it. No,
Yeah,
Rome didn't
it's
succeed for well,
many,
remember,
many,
Rome
many
died
reasons.
3 times.
Yeah. Well,
A lot of people forget that. They say, "Oh, Rome lasted 1,500 years." No, Rome lasted 250 years, and then kind of went quiet, and then it rose up 250 years, then kind of went quiet, and then rose up again.
no, if you want like a modern, more modern equivalence, I think you could align it similarly to like the French and the monarchy, where they had a monarchy and then a revolution, and then like Bonaparte came in and he was like, I'm here as like a president, and then it was like, nah, I'm here the I'm now the king, and then they went back to monarchy with the Bourbons, and I would compare it to a little bit to Rome in that sense of the dying a few times and coming back. But
Yeah,
I do think like a lot of the times with immigrants, I believe that we can be a country that helps people start anew. Because like
sure,
I really do in my heart, I do believe in the value of immigration.
100%.
And so it's just like
But
for me,
but what was the key phrase you said in there? Start anew. That
yes,
means
start anew.
I want them to get processed in. I want them to come over here with a plan and a goal. I do not want them coming over here and getting set up, and then we have to give our tax money to them
Hmm.
repeatedly because you just make them just a baby swine on the teat.
Yeah. I will say for my interaction with people who immigrate here, which is vast, right? Like
Mhm.
most of my family is immigrants. Whether it's my husband's family, my own family, people that I talk to all the time, because I think the unique thing about Utah is a huge base of our immigrant population has ties to the LDS church. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And they come here, like I was recently talking to this young woman. She's going to be coming to Utah next week. She's going to BYU. She joined the church in Italy, and I'm not a member, you know what I mean? But she's looking for like other Italians to like talk to. And it's like, I think when you have that, like, I look at our immigration system compared to like other states where we have this like cultural tying in with each other a lot of the times to the people coming here. And I think that makes us a little bit different. You know what I mean?
Well, no, okay, so she's coming here. So that means she had a goal. She filled out paperwork. She
Yeah.
got on a process. She has a goal. Now, from my understanding, is all through Biden's term, more Mexican nationals left than came.
That wouldn't surprise me.
Well,
Left because of
Mexico's
deportation under Biden or left of their own accord?
left on their own accord.
That's interesting.
And they've been leaving because Mexico's kind of economically climbing up a little bit, right? Mexico's starting to get some businesses down there. We'll see how it goes. I still think Scheinbaum is a cartel lackey. Um,
I like her, but you never I don't know her. I like
well,
some of the things she's done. Um, but you just don't know.
I think every time Mexico swings to the left, their cartels always get stronger and more violent every time. You can track it historically. The more hugs than bullets movements they have, the cartels vastly use that and they get stronger. And now Mexico's a narco state, but a narco state can still be economically prosperous.
Yeah. I think
And
that's
so,
and I think that's the craziest thing is that like sometimes some countries their way of economic prosper is through things that we might find to be deplorable. You know what I mean? Like
like
whether it's
Libya and the open air slave markets, very deplorable.
yeah,
Thank you, Hillary.
I have no idea anything about that. So
Well, when she overthrew Gaddafi, The next year,
Oh,
you could watch videos of open air slave markets.
that's so sad.
Yeah, it's very sad. But he threatened the dollar, so we had to take him out.
Fair, I suppose. I don't know. It's the dollar thing is just so wild. It's so interesting too to me the countries that utilize our dollar as their currency, which I recently learned about. I had no idea that some countries do that.
Yeah, Argentina, multiple, I think. Well, in every country except for, Iran and let me think. What countries are there now? Use our dollar as their international trading currency.
Right.
I mean, Iran doesn't. I don't know if I need to repeat the word Iran a couple more times, but Iran doesn't.
It's
Iran hasn't for, you know, going on 60 years now. About the same amount of time that they've been. Anyways, it's
it's
neither
always
here nor
just so
there.
interesting because you like read stuff like that and you're like, I don't know, like for myself, if that was my government, I would be like, why are we putting all of our faith into a country we cannot control? But that's just me.
Well, here's how it worked out. So prior to World War II, um, the English pound carried most of the currency of international trade, carried the bulwark of it. Not all of it, carried a lot of it. Some countries used the francs, especially colonial countries between each other. But generally, if they were trading and they were outside of kind of network trading, they would use the British pound. And then part of the deal that got us into World War II was it was called Bretton Woods. And Bretton Woods is a resort in New Hampshire. And um, Winston Churchill and a couple communists met up there. And the deal was that the US dollar would become the currency of international trade at that deal. And boom, that got us more vested in that. It was kind of it's what bought our way in there. And
Okay.
and it's offered us a rather our nation a life of privilege. And then it was it 71? The French looked around and said, well, it was shortly after that. One of those communists said, all U.S. people has to turn in all their gold at, what was it, $28 an ounce, and then turned around the next year and valued it at like $34 an ounce. But that's, what communists tend to do, tend to rob everyone around them blind. And then in 71, I think it was, France looked around and said, we got a lot of dollars, but we're supposed to be able to trade our dollars back and get our gold back that we've been storing at Fort Knox. And so they called up Nixon and said, hey, we'd like to send a whole bunch of these dollars back and purchase back some of our gold. And Nixon said, you can't. So France sailed a warship into the New York harbor. And we loaded that warship with gold because,
Why
getting
not?
into a shooting war with France over us breaking a deal would have
Yeah.
destroyed the dollar immediately. And so then England shortly followed. They couldn't get all they wanted back, and it was devalued quite a bit, but they got quite a bit of it back. And then after that, Nixon, he was at an airport in front of then Air Force One, and he said, I am temporarily suspending the gold standard to, whatever. And then he sent Kissinger over to China and Kissinger over to Saudi Arabia and secured the petrodollar, which made the dollar boom back in because OPEC would only sell oil for the dollar at after that. And he opened up China so that we could have a uh, uh, Deng Xiaoping also wanted to liberalize China. It was kind of a match, but yeah, he opened up China, hoping that it would liberalize China and bring part of the Marxist bloc out of from behind the Red Curtain.
And what year is this?
China was opened in, I want to say 72, 73. I think 71 was the end of the gold standard, the beginning of the petrodollar. It was all during Nixon's presidency.
I always have to remind myself how long Kissinger lived.
Evil don't die. Oh, did I say that aloud? Well, he didn't have a heart. Him and Cheney. I mean, those guys are, you know.
I don't disagree with any of that. Yeah. Like, I think like most people on the spectrum, we can all agree Kissinger is not a good dude.
Yeah. No, he crazy. It's weird if you get a chance, look up an interview of his brother talking. And his brother talks normal.
Really?
Yeah. And Kissinger talks like a lizard.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Like, it's just like, you just look at him and you're just like, this guy gives me the ick.
There's a handful of people that do. Like, I look at him and I'm like, oh, like George Soros, the racket he ran. I honestly believe that USAID was a feed loop between George Soros and the Democrat Party that we taxpayers funded for 40 years. Mm-hmm. He got extremely wealthy off kickbacks from USAID, and the Democrat Party did too, which makes me wonder, this drop off of the Democrat Party that we're witnessing, how much of that is due to eliminating USAID?
I like the George Soros on his Wikipedia. It says the man who broke the Bank of England.
Yeah.
Because of a short sale he did.
He would go around. He goes around and he funds people who will build low trust societies and then reaps all the monetary benefits from that. So he's an evil, evil man. Many people have died because of the decisions he's made to fund.
Yeah.
That's something to look at. Many people have died awful, gory, gruesome deaths because of him. And Kissinger.
I think when you start looking at like these really successful men, my mother and I don't know if you watch, this might be a little bit too far left for you, but The Gilded Age on HBO, and it talks about like the barons of the Gilded Age.
Oh, Rockefeller and
like, you know, growing up where I did, in steel country, you know, you have Carnegie, and my dad worked in a steel mill my whole life. And I'll never forget when I was like, Dad, we're going to go to the Carnegie Museum, you know, because Pittsburgh has a really great, and I'll never forget my dad. He said, do you know why the Carnegie Museum exists and other things like it? And I said, no. And he said, that's because he's trying to buy his way into heaven. And,
well, yeah.
And you look at it and you look at these very wealthy people and you kind of have to wonder, like, whose backs did they make this wealth off of, you know? And I think you could say the same about Soros. Kissinger, although not known for wealth, I think his power makes you have to look at him as well and go.
He was wealthy. But he made his wealth from governments. Yeah, and same with Soros. Here's the feedback loop on Soros. Soros would go around the world and support socialist uprisings that were violent, right? And it would destabilize a country. It'd cause famines. It'd cause civil wars, right? And then USAID would come in and suspend our taxpayer money there, but it always got peeled off two times. He got peeled off for Act Blue and George Soros. And then George Soros would give a kickback to USAID. And that feedback loop just kept happening. Kissinger did the same thing. He just did it on the Republican side.
Right.
He would go in there and tell North Vietnam, no, keep fighting. You need to keep fighting, whatever. Whether it was to win an election or whatever it's for, he'd tell them to keep fighting. And then a lot of U.S. soldiers and a lot of North Vietnamese and South Vietnamese people paid the price for it when the peace talks were ready to come to a culmination.
It makes you wonder, like, in what part of their childhood, because, like you said, like, it's very clear, like, different side of the spectrum, very similar playbook, right? And it's like, at what point in their lives were they like, because they're not too far apart in age either, like,
No.
you know, let me see, like, Kissinger was 7 years older
Mm-hmm.
than George, you know what I mean? And it's like, what things in their life turn them to acting like this. It's just so fascinating to me.
Well, um, I can tell you George Soros's childhood probably had a lot to do with it. He was a Hungarian Jew when the Nazis took over. And then he ended up working with the Nazis to turn in his fellow countrymen who were Jewish. And then he got to reap the benefits from that.
Mm-hmm.
He was kind of a wealth finder for him. He talked about it himself. I imagine that would scar someone's psyche forever, that you'd end
Yeah.
up not caring about human life at all.
Well, I can't imagine that whole mind, like, as a Jew, like, I just can't imagine you're just like, yeah, but he wasn't the only one to do that in that world, you know what I mean, during that awful time. And like, I would say Kissinger for fighting in the war, World War II. You know what I mean? I imagine he saw some things as a soldier. And what
Mm-hmm.
shocks me, well, it doesn't really, but like, so my husband's has an uncle who fought in World War II, and he's Jewish as well. And it's like, I think it changed him a little bit to go to like liberate those concentration camps and see your own, just in just terrible ways.
Oh, of course. Of course. Could you imagine? Well, and even if you're not one of those who liberates one of those camps,
Right.
just the circumstance of it. And also we got to remember the country built up a propaganda machine that changed the psyche of the country, that the country went into World War II a different country that came out of it.
Right.
And propaganda always does that.
And it's so crazy too, because it's like, I think, I don't think who it matters, you know what I mean, who you are during the World War II. Everyone, I think, came out of that thinking vastly different, you know what I mean? Because during, even though America got in at the tail end, I think the things that we learned about each other, taking like the atomic bombs and just like the camps itself and the horrible things that were going on there, and in like Italy, there was lots of starvation issues, and it's like, I think everyone walked away from that completely changed person, and understandably so.
Yeah. Well, even nationally,
Hmm.
I mean, we come out of World War II the Great Depression had a big change on us. Prior
Yeah.
to the Great Depression, we were an individualist nation.
Yeah.
And after the Great Depression, everyone started thinking that leaning on the government to cure your problems was a beneficial idea.
Yeah, and I think some of the issue too with like, you look at like the Great Depression, you look at the people who hurt the most. Like my grandmother, she raised me and like she lived through the Great Depression. And one thing she told me was, as a child, she remembered the value of being farmers.
Hmm?
because we had lives. She had livestock. The family always had livestock, and she was like, while many people around me were like city people were struggling to survive and feed their family, she's like, we didn't have that issue as much, you know. Clothes, different story. They struggled with that, but could you imagine, you know, kind of that, like, you read a lot today about these people who wanting to be homesteaders, right? And I think it's very easy to I scoff off homesteaders for a vastly different reason. I think sometimes they get into it thinking it's going to be easy work, and then they realize it's not. Growing up in farming community, um, but I think we've seen where the benefits of that. Because can the government make you food? Probably not. You know,
Well, I mean, we don't need to talk about Soylent Green, but yes, the government can make you into food.
make you into food, but can they get you food?
No, there's a lot to it. I don't know. I don't know how many fans of FDR there are out there, but he's on the list of worst presidents we've had. He's in the top 10.
As long as Franklin Pierce is there too.
Pierce, I don't know. I don't know
Um,
about Pierce. I would say Woodrow Wilson, number one for awful president.
Calvin Coolidge, where would you put him?
He's like number two for best president.
Best president. Because that's the interesting thing about Calvin Coolidge is like some people really blame him for the Great Depression. And
Why would they blame Coolidge? Because
be,
Coolidge brought us out of the crash of 21, the crash of 19 through 21.
right. But
It
some
was a
people,
bigger crash than the Great Depression. You know that, right?
yes, but some people felt like his actions led to the Great Depression. And I don't necessarily agree with it, but it's
No,
very interesting.
I would say I would blame it. If I was to blame anybody's actions for the Great Depression, I'd blame it on Wilson.
I don't disagree.
Because I mean, he's the one who brought the Federal Reserve in, and the Federal Reserve caused these booms and busts. They don't let the economic cycle naturally contract when it's supposed to. They keep it alive and keep it growing so that when it does contract, it's huge. It's
Right.
a bigger hit. So the crash of 21 was a bigger crash than the crash of 29, or the crash of 19 was a bigger crash than the crash of 29. And it was completely repaired within a year.
Mm-hmm.
But Hoover and Hoover was a progressive Republican. And then you had FDR, a communist Democrat. They made the Great Depression, they made it last 12 years. Those two extended it. I don't think they did it on purpose. They did it with their stupid ideology.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they thought, well, we're wealthy. We know better than everyone because we're rich. That's why we know better. You should listen to us because we're rich.
Yeah, and sometimes being wealthy has a plethora of factors of how you got there.
Well, yes. Also, if you're wealthy in, let's put it in today's terms. Let's say you're a magnate at building hotels.
Mm-hmm.
Does that mean you know how to do all the intricacies of farming?
No, and that becomes the thing is like sometimes we have to accept our own limitations and other people's limitations as well.
FDR did not believe that.
Yeah.
FDR was a magnate of being born with a silver spoon in his mouth.
Mm-hmm.
And he thought that meant that everything he touched turned to gold. But
Right.
everything he touched turned to feces.
It's just
Literally everything.
it's just so fascinating. I don't know. Have not to change the topic. Have you heard
Mm.
people saying that is it Nebraska is going to go bankrupt?
I don't know. I haven't heard that, but are they? Let me do some digging.
Like I think it was Nebraska. So this has been a big, yeah. So there has been, yeah, because I was home and like my dad asked me about it. Mind you, my dad is like, he's more liberal than I am. And yeah, so a lot of people in August this year, there was a claim that Nebraska was on the verge of bankruptcy because of tariffs and labor shortages following the immigration raids. And
Snopes
that's false.
debunks it. What does Snopes say?
Yeah, they say it's false.
Okay. So is that just someone just trying to stir a pot?
I think so. Because like my dad asked me about it, and yeah, some TikToker apparently got big on
So
TikTok.
so your dad is more liberal than you. What do you mean more liberal?
My dad is more liberal than I am. I'm
Like
like
is
way more moderate.
like is he let me do a punch run of the feeling I get from Democrats lately. Like is he down with uh trans boxers boxing against
I would imagine
genetically females?
my dad is the type of person that he'll just have no opinion about it.
So is
He's
he just a Democrat because he grew up in an era and a union that was Democrat?
no, he hated the unions growing up. He got
Okay.
he got messed over by a union. When I say my dad is more liberal than I am, and it's my parents both, like my mom's very like open borders, like why does it matter immigration? Why do we even have it? Or I'm like, you still need immigration laws. Um my dad
I I'm full if you want to do away with the welfare state, I'm for complete open borders.
yeah, my
Let people come and go as they will. They have to get support through churches or through communities or through, you know, previous contact, but
yeah,
there will not be a Fed goon coming and stealing money from me to give to some rando that came here from Honduras.
right. And my mom is it's a very much a religious kind of vibe of like you should just like allow people and do all the things where I don't think that's my dad. Why I say he's more liberal than I is like the man watches MSNBC oh
MS Now.
hell all the time. All the time. It's all
You're
it's playing in
kidding.
his
He can
house.
stomach that channel?
Oh yeah, he loves it. Like
Oh, that's like opening your mouth at the bottom of a freaking porta john.
yeah, it's too much even for me like when I was home and it's just on in every room and he doesn't hear well cuz he worked in the steel mills forever and I'm always just like even for me, I'm just like, I like, he says things to me, and I'm like, I don't really think that's the situation, but stellar, because like the Nebraska thing came about, and my dad was like, you used to do bankruptcy law, right? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, how do states file bankruptcy? And I was like, they don't, to the best of my knowledge. Um, so it was just but yeah, that's what I more mean is the man just watches MSN BC all the time, and Rachel Maddow. I tell him it's his lesbian lover because he just worships these people wherever, and it's just like I'm not like my dad goes to protests and I don't. Like he went to the No Kings local No Kings protest where we're from, and he was like, "Did you go protest today?" And it's like, "No, I'm not doing
do,
protest."
do the Democrats really think that Trump's trying to become a king?
I think a lot of people do. I
Hmm.
think a lot of people do. And I think like my mom and I were talking today and like it's hard because my mom they want to talk to me about politics and like my mom is convinced that Trump's going to run a third term.
I think he teases the Democrats. Like
Yeah.
he said the other day with Zelensky when he's like, oh, so if you're at war, you don't have elections, huh? And he kind of looked at the cameras. So we got a playbook, I think he said, or something like that. And I think he's just trolling. Look, here's the deal. every country on earth, while invaded, will not hold elections.
Mm-mm.
There's only been one country that we know of in modern history that carried elections while they were invaded, and I think that was Romania when the USSR invaded them.
Yeah.
I mean, no country under invasion would hold elections. And everyone would argue, well, Lincoln held elections in, what was it, 60, was it back then 63? And I'm like, yeah, but at that time, the North wasn't invaded. The
Right.
South had never crossed into the North. The North was invading,
Mm-hmm.
but they weren't invaded.
Right.
So, yeah, I doubt if we were invaded by someone, I doubt we'd hold elections. We'd probably be a little preoccupied. I don't blame the Ukraine for not having elections. I don't think
Could you imagine?
Zelensky's, huh?
Could you imagine the logistical nightmare?
Jesus, seriously.
And
Seriously.
like,
And while you've got troops in your country, you're going to try to hold elections and think that they're not going to change some numbers somehow?
right. Because that was the problem with them having the elections for a couple of the provinces
Mm.
is like, you know, they had elections and then it's like, but how much can we really trust the validity of these elections when they're invaded? And I think that's the hardest thing is that we want to have free and fair elections, but it's how do you have that when there's this looming entity that makes you feel like you didn't get that?
Uh, I don't live and die on elections anyway. I think, as everyone knows,
What?
I don't
That's
think
news to me.
I don't think democracy is the god that everyone thinks it is.
Yeah. I but I think with every type of government, we have to come to terms that like there are negatives and minuses of all. And I think
Mm-hmm.
at times we have done a disservice. I remember growing up, my mom and my dad would tell me if I made a good decision, there were still negative consequences.
Mm-hmm.
And I think
God, they're sounding awful Republican.
they have their moments. My mom was raised by Republicans. But we I was taught those lessons and I think you can say the same thing about democracy is that I think this idea that we've really hindered ourselves is kind of believing that America is the best country in the world, everyone else sucks, and democracy is the best thing since sliced white bread.
Okay,
Because,
America is the best country in the world, but it's not because everyone else sucks. It's because of our geography. Our geography is golden. It's because of our size. It's because of at our birth, we were born with a rebellious streak that led us to try stuff.
and see that's my thing is like I would rather us be known for being the best at something. Do you know what I mean? Whether
We
it's
are. We're the best at
industrialization,
inventing stuff.
but when we just
We're
say
the
we're number
best at
one,
landing on the moon.
but when we just say we're just number one, like I would rather put like caveats to it, like to list like the accomplishments instead of just saying like we're the number one. You know what I mean?
Okay. It'd be shorter to list the accomplishments of all other countries.
I don't disagree. I think the fact that
You
we're
know, we're
are
number one. Yes, Germany invented the car first, but we're the ones who made it and sold it.
we industrialize the shit out of cars. You know what I mean? Because you
We
have like
we we did. We industrialized. We're number one because we invented. Shall we go on? The computer, the internet, the atom bomb, nuclear power. I mean, just all these tactile things today.
yeah
That's us.
that are still in use and like for me that's my biggest thing because like like so like full disclosure like I have dual citizenship right and it's like that's like the one thing when I talk to people from Europe and in Italy in particular they're always just like but you just say you're the number one like what about the like what things make you number one
Okay.
and I sympathize
Italy's
with that
number one at making bread, and
food
probably
just
France, all of Europe.
yeah
Number one at making food. We're number one at making it so that more people can eat.
yes
Their food's better and healthier.
right
We'll give you cancer, but you'll get cancer on a full stomach.
Exactly. Like,
And that's a fact. Yes, you're 100% correct on that.
because,
I would say we're number one because of the First Amendment. The ability to, if you think something, you are allowed to spit that out of your mouth.
hmm I think
That's where
too. I think
also
too.
the Second Amendment makes it so that we can't have a runaway government. So tell your parents that it's that evil Republican loving Second Amendment that would stop him from being a king.
I mean, you would hope so. Like,
Well,
I struggle with that just because of the fact of like, anytime I hear people say like the Second Amendment, whatever, like something of this round, not even directed at Trump, is like the US spends a ton of money in military might. You would have to get the military to be on the side of the citizens. And I
no,
don't
you wouldn't.
know,
Tell
you
that
don't
to the
think?
Taliban.
But was the Taliban spending as much money as the states is?
They
And
didn't have to, and they beat the military. They lost every battle.
that's interesting.
They just have to outlast the war. Tell that to Vietnam.
So you're saying like with Vietnam, Nam, and even like other, it's like tactics come about, right? Where it's
No,
like
it's not tactics.
you don't think it's tactics either.
It's the heart and stomach.
Yeah, I
How
just
long
like
can you last? How long will you suffer underground? And you don't anyone with an AR-15 is not going to go fight an M1 Abrams or an F-16.
right.
But they are going to fight the fuel depot.
Yeah, yeah, and I just
They are
struggle
going to
with it.
fight they are going to fight the mess hall, the logistical trucks.
Yeah, that's fair. I just like I look at it and I just think money to money, like, you know, it's so daunting to even think that's a reality.
Now, one thing our military would do is the whole world could rise up and invade us and we would win.
Because we put a ton of money. But how are you
Well,
gonna like? How can you say like the American people, if the whole world could rise up and come against the states, and they would lose? How could our people beat them against
well,
tyranny?
we would beat them because every modern army on earth uses our logistics. Every modern army on earth uses our satellite system.
Hmm
When England goes to war, do you think it's an English ship that delivers their food?
No, I always assumed it was American, but
It's us.
yeah. But the thing is like, if these countries can't do it, right? Like they can't win. How do we expect American citizens to beat
Because
back
we're
tyranny?
already here.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Invasion is different calculation than defense.
Yeah, that's true. It's just so interesting, the whole thought process of like who would win. I never have a ton of hope, I guess you could say.
I think we would win an invasion through our technology, and we would win an insurgency through numbers and shady tactics.
Yeah. I can't like, and I don't know if this is my Italian background, but like my Italian upbringing where I'm just like, yeah, I think if we got like if something like that happened, I would flop. Like, Italians are so good about being invaded and we just go, hey, that's fine. It's fine. France, Arabic countries for a while, whatever. Like, I guess we're your subjects now. But
Kinda, but I mean, maybe that's a I don't know. I mean, you look at ancient Rome. Rome was a city, and we call it a nation. And it was
an
people
empire.
outside of Rome. They weren't never. They weren't really. They never really pledged allegiance. I mean, when Hannibal Barca marched over the mountains, it was a bunch of Italians that joined his army.
Yeah. No, and I just know from southern Italy where I'm from. Like the Greeks had it for one point, then the Arabics, and
Hmm.
then it went back to southern Italians for a little bit, and then like it was everyone's and anyone's at some, different points in time. Um but no, it's just it's interesting. But I will say, like, back to democracy, like we just haven't done a very good job of educating ourselves of like there are downsides to democracy, like there is with a British or monarchy in general, right?
And we haven't educated ourselves on what's the upside of a monarchy
Right.
or what's
Because
the upside of any of them.
right. Because like I said, there's consequences, good and bad, for both. And like you could say with a monarchy, right? Like you have, I'm going to use England because it's the most famous. You could say them having a constitutional monarchy is beneficial because it creates this illusion of stability when you have a monarch in place that can't. Do they have real power? Not really. You know what I mean? But it's the viewpoint of like all the stuff's going on in this change, but at least this one person stays the same. And it's, you know what I mean?
I don't know. I mean, England, I think, flopped their monarchy. Um, but monarchies do that. The problem with monarchies, especially genetic monarchies, is I've talked about this on the show. Is every once in a while you roll that dice and you get a moron.
Right. And that's the scariest part about, because you look at like the Habsburgs and
The
like other
Habsburgs,
Habsburgs, the Bourbons
yeah.
even at times, like, and that's the thing is like you might get a dud in the mix.
Oh, especially if you breed them like the Habsburgs did,
Right. Right.
brother and sister and cousins, and you come out with the with the waterheads.
Right. And it's like, yeah, that probably marrying your relative over and over for
Wasn't
generations.
wasn't okay. Spanish king. He was a Habsburg king.
Charles.
Was it Charles what was his nickname? Charles the Decrepit or whatever.
Yeah, because
He
like,
could barely talk. His jaw was so deformed he couldn't eat, and he would just at random ejaculate all the time.
yeah, like Charles the Second, yeah, of Habsburgs. And like what's so
And that's what happens when 100 years of brothers and sisters culminate in one waterhead.
right. And you can't look at it and be like his poor, like this man was married to someone who was like
Just
normal. And could
a
you
poor
imagine you're a
poor
young
cousin of
woman,
his.
right? Cuz like he was married twice, okay? And like never had children, and like they
Charles the
have
Cripple, wasn't it?
let me look. I'm gonna look it up.
It's just
My
the,
cripple.
the story is hilarious. And then he gave it over to,
Oh, the
didn't he?
Bewitched King. He was called El uh Henchazizando, which means like in Spanish the Bewitched King. But this man got married twice, and you have to understand, like, these are young brides coming to him. How pissed are you? You get off the boat, you've been on a boat for a long time, you see this man, and you're like, this
Do
is the
you
help,
do
right?
you think that they were marrying him for looks or love?
I mean, probably by told by
At the
parents they had
time,
to.
he was a part of the largest dynasty.
Right.
They didn't care. They
No.
got the prettiest dress, they got the fullest bellies, and they had the softest beds.
Right.
They did not care.
No. And like I just can't even imagine like that whole thing. His autopsy was really crazy too, because in the writing it says his head was full of water, which is very interesting.
He
And
was a waterhead.
yeah,
I call him that like 3 times now.
yeah,
He
and
was a waterhead. He was so deformed. He could barely eat.
his heart was described of being the size of a peppercorn. Like, I just can't even
Oh,
imagine. But once again, like we were saying, like has some real negative effects because he's not the only one that was terrible king wise, or ruler wise. I think you can make a case that Charles is kind of a Charles the Third of England is a dud right now.
well, he's definitely not working for England.
No.
Um, that yeah, I don't know. I still think democratic republicanism is the best system right now. It's better than all the others.
Do you think new government systems will be more moving as time goes on? Like, do you think like we'll see maybe in our lifetime where some pretty big world stage countries say our current government system's working and this is where we're changing to?
Hmm. Maybe. I don't know. I mean, it could be. I wonder what the first country is going to be that brings AI involved in
That's a
their
yeah,
governing decisions.
yeah, because that's what I'm wondering is like what point do we start bring tech in? Because like AI is pretty new, baby, a little, and our understanding of it isn't very good. But give it like 5, 10 years, it's already pretty much at everywhere and anywhere.
It
Um,
is. And it's just a learning machine. AI could pick through history and say, okay, this was the problem. This was the attempted solution. This was the problem. Which is the better outcome? It
right.
might cough out some wild ideas.
Yeah. We use AI at my job a lot. A lot. Sometimes to our best, sometimes to
What
our
do
not.
you use it for though?
I use it for research and those types of things because sometimes the topics I deal with at work around laws can be very vast.
Especially if you're doing multi-nationality laws and multi-state.
Yep. Because sometimes you want to know, like, because I'm over North America, right? I do all of our compliance for our company, and we typically service North America. And so, like, some of it's like, how can I make a law that's going to make Canada happy plus all 50 states? Like, what is the middle ground of it?
You
And,
pour
like,
maple syrup on it
exactly. Maple
and
syrup
bacon.
solves all. Yeah. And you have to do a shot of maple syrup. But
Mm,
it's always
you better
interesting.
be ready when you go up to Canada.
My
Hope you got
sugar's
your
gonna be
sweet
a
tooth going.
yeah, I'm not a big, like, drink maple syrup fan, but I'll do it for the fam,
It's
for people.
yeah, they don't care. They
No,
just
they
want
don't.
you to show up. My grandfather was Canadian.
I did not know that.
Yes, he actually was in the Great Depression in Canada and the US.
Did he say which one sucked more?
Canada definitely because
Canada.
his where they lived in Alberta in a
Okay.
farming community, and the wolves took their last bit of livestock and the next day they left.
Lord, I can't even imagine that growing like, having like, I was just home last week, and we, like I was trying to explain to my husband, we have donkeys. We have about 4 donkeys, and they make it so the coyotes don't come. They will
Yeah,
kick us like hell. They will
donkey will kill a coyote.
yeah, and I just can't imagine that because, like, we've lost livestock to predators before, but could you imagine that's your last survival and it's
Well,
gone?
yeah, and if it's wolves, a donkey won't kill a wolf,
No.
and it won't kill 3 wolves. Definitely not. Yeah, no, it was wolves that got their last livestock.
Wow,
He
that's
talked about it once. Well, I mean, he was born during the Great Depression up there.
mhm.
Um, I want to say maybe right before the Great Depression, but they lived up there. And his father was a mason for the church and moved up there to build a temple up there. And
Crazy.
He lost a baby sister up there. She died in the neighbor's house, got into the rat poison, and it got her.
Jeez. It's always so crazy to me the like I'm a big Reddit person. There's this subreddit called Death Certificates, and they pull up old timey like death certificates, and you can like see the way people pass, and it makes like it's so incredible to me how much better we've gotten about child safety when it comes to things like rat poison,
Mm-hmm.
even baby bottles, because they used to have this one, it was a tube, and it was like basically mothers could not clean it very well. And so like the bacteria would make these children sick
Oh,
and
just
die.
E. coli.
Yeah, it was really
Oh,
bad. And it's stuff like that that I read about, but Lord, that's harrowing.
well,
That
that's the big thing that's changed our population was keeping people alive after when they're born.
right. And I
That's
just can't imagine. I'm looking at the Alberta Camp Temple. I wonder how much it's stayed the same or if they've done like a Provo temple and taken it down.
I don't know. I don't
So,
know. I don't even know if he's building a full temple. I don't know.
yeah.
They
It's just
lived in Roberta, Alberta.
Roberta, Alberta. I like
Yeah.
that it rhymes. That's a 10 for me.
Yeah.
You're gonna have a space, make it rhyme, I suppose. Um, no, it's just wild too to see like what makes people like what is the thing that they're just like, all right, we need to change, we need to leave the country that we're at right now.
Well, so my grandfather's dad, I think, was from, I want to say he was from Salt Lake or the Utah area. And he married the head mason's daughter.
Mm,
And she was from uh, Salt Lake for sure.
hmm. So you have like pioneer heritage.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've got some polygamy in my genes.
It's always so wild to me. Like my husband's um his dad's side, like they have like pioneers and like polygamy, and like I'm always just so fascinated by it all. Um, because it's just so incredible to learn more about that and like what people did when they came to the Salt Lake Valley. Like the fact that the church would be like, hey, you need to move to Mexico and start up a Mormon colony there. Like that's just baffling me. And people did it.
Yeah. Not. I would like to do a show one day about the shady stuff the church did. I'm not prepared. I need to find someone who could do that show with me who knows much more.
Yeah, that would be
My
interesting.
go-to my go-to guy on that has since passed. He was a friend of the family and he was very LDS, but he was one of those guys who was very blunt and honest and he'd tell you when the LDS did shady stuff.
Well, it's like this past week some of my coworkers found the new Netflix series called American Primeval,
Oh,
and it talks a little bit about some of that stuff, and like the amount of questions I have gotten, like I am a historian from Utah and I just know all the things, but like it's crazy because outside of even like that has sparked an interest, but I think when you look at the facts of thing like the Meadow Mountain Massacre, you know what I mean? Like they're still finding bodies. And I could
yeah.
say that with certainty because a relative of mine, they live down that area. They just sold a chunk of property to the church that had remains that they found just like in the last 2 years.
Were they remains of the massacre or just
Yes,
remains?
remains of the massacre.
Yeah, and it was the way I heard the story was there were some they were a wagon train from was it from Missouri that
Yeah,
was
something like that.
heading to California and they come through and the Mormons at the time were communist. Everybody farmed and then they collected in one central location and doled it out.
Yeah, there's a name for that, like a religious name. The law of consecration they practice.
Yeah, whatever it is, it's communist. I am not. I was born Mormon. I am not.
I just read too much about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's same with Georgetown. Georgetown failed for 3 years, and
Yeah.
then when they said, "Okay, we're done being communist," Georgetown flourished. Just
I
say
you
what it
know,
is.
I was thinking of Jonestown and I was like, "No, all those people died." And then I remembered wrong place.
Yeah.
Um, but it's no, and it's interesting because like the church is like buying up when they find bodies like this. Because like the families of the descendants, or not the descendants, but like the relatives of these people who died there, they don't want to bring them to California. So they just like leave them there in Utah. And so I think the church is buying it up to like kind of not save face, but make sure nothing disrespectful happens to that
Well, I'm sure
spot.
that. Yeah, I would never say the LDS Church is evil. I mean, I think all religions are what religions are. They're institutions that's controlled by men that are going to make logical decisions that they think are logical at the time,
Right. My dad
just
calls
like
it
anything else.
mind control for the masses. Is
It's
what I was always told as a kid.
well, it's cultural control.
Yeah.
There's a reason Utah is still a fairly clean place. I mean, that's even after it's been diluted more than 50%.
Well,
And it still maintains that cleanliness because it has a dominant culture.
yeah,
Not for much longer.
I would agree with that because like I will say like there are some things, although I'm not a part of the faith, not my jam, wasn't raised in it. Um, you think about like, have you ever gone to an airport in another place
Hmm.
and the immediate cigarette smoke that you're just like swamped with? And I struggle with that because, like in Utah, we have the Clean Air Act, which is a big proponent to make sure you don't have that happen. And like, I think it's a really good thing, especially for children. You know what I mean? Their lungs are developing and you don't want them to get irritated. But, and plus, two, we're a very pro family society. Like, how many places, like, you go to Pennsylvania or Ohio, where I'm from, like, we don't have splash pads in abundance everywhere that, people can just go hang out and be with their family for free. Like, no, that doesn't exist.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. I mean, um, well, it's in the cleanliness too.
Hmm.
But that's not just, I mean, everyone says, well, the Mormons must be a special religion. You go anywhere where any culture, doesn't even have to be a religion, any culture has a dominance, and that place will be cleaner. That place will be safer. That place will have more cultural security, more harmony with your neighbors anywhere you go. And that's just the that's a natural rule of, I would say, more than just humans.
Hmm.
That's a natural rule in the insect world, in animals everywhere. I mean, it's just a natural rule that if you and I have the same beliefs, or say there's four people,
Hmm.
and two of those four people believe the same thing, have the same ingrained ideals,
Hmm.
all four people are going to benefit from that, and they're all going to work in accordance, even if two of them don't believe.
Hmm. Where have you else seen that? I'm just curious. Like, I haven't, like, Utah's
Well,
like the only
seeing
place
it personally,
Mhm.
Korea, um,
Okay.
they have the same belief, the same kind of religion and history. I'll
Mhm.
bet if you go to the Vatican City, probably quite clean. Everyone there kind of has the same belief running,
Mhm.
right? I'll bet. So it's anywhere you go where there's is a dominance of a single culture,
Mhm.
because they're cohesive. Right or wrong, it's just the way all animals work. I mean, I'm sure chimps groups work the same way.
Yeah.
It's just everyone with the same culture that it naturally builds a high trust society.
Hmm.
I'm not saying you have to have it. I'm just saying it is what it is. And then we bring in a whole bunch of illegals and low trust society reigns. And
Yeah.
next thing you know, it's wild. You have people protesting to stay in the US, flying the flag of the place they don't want you to send them to. Just think about it in those terms. That's like, I don't know, I was about to make a bad joke, but that's just weird. That's like if a woman was cheating on her husband and her
Hmm.
husband was about to leave her,
Hmm.
but she kept swinging a picture of the guy she's cheating with to say, keep me, don't divorce me.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? It's just, it's really weird. Those people ran away from Mexico because, as elevating as Mexico is, it's still the bottom rung of success. They
I
ran
mean,
away from it and they don't want to go back, but they're going to fly its flag. Do you think those protests might have had a better look if those people protesting ICE would have came out and swung the American flag?
very possible. I think the biggest issue is I think a lot of people feel like Republicans own the American flag in the my side of the fence, which I don't understand that.
The Democrats gave it up. The
Yeah,
Democrats, the Republicans didn't take it from anyone. The Democrats said, ooh, gross.
I don't understand it because like a while back I was at a meeting and I had an American flag there and I was like, we're gonna do the pledge, we're gonna do these things. And I had a guy come up to me after and he was like, I really appreciate it because I feel like in this party we don't do this. And I was like, that's just weird to me. Like I don't, but like I've heard it from other places and I've seen this be an issue within the party system. It's just like they're not as willing to do that as much, and I don't understand it. Now, do people want to fly their flag of their heritage? I really don't have a huge issue with it because I
Don't
think
have a problem at all with it.
you can like the pride is there. I have done it myself, you know what I mean, especially on our Republic Day, the day we became a country without the monarchy, like I can understand that. But the whole vibe around the American flag is just so odd right now. Just so
It's odd on your side. On the Republican side, they're just like, hell yeah.
they put it everywhere. Like that's the one thing I will say when I talk to people that aren't from the States. They're like, so why do you put the American flag on everything? And it's like, I can understand that's a bit probably strange to some. Like, I owned in high school a pair of American pajama pants, American flag pajama pants. And I imagine for some of my relatives that aren't from the States, that was probably a little strange.
I do wonder when England lost it. Because I remember when I was young growing up, the only time you saw the Union Jack was on anarchist punk rockers'
Hmm.
clothing. And English patriots wouldn't fly it. So it's weird. I think it's that English conservatism is very uptight. You got to really shove that broomstick up there real high and stiffen the back up.
Right. And I would imagine too, some of it's like maybe the individual countries like England, Scotland, they have their own flags.
But that's the same thing we are. We're kind of, we're a group of states, individual states.
Yeah.
Just like Great Britain is a group of individual states. Granted, they've gotten a lot smaller and become a cesspool of degradation, but they are. I mean, they
Yeah,
used to
it's
make
similar.
wars there.
It's always just so interesting I'm also loving the conversation around the Utah flag because, like, I don't know if it's going to be on the ballot, but there were some people trying to make a ballot initiative to go back to the old flag for
Mm-hmm.
Utah.
Yes.
I don't know if it's a controversial opinion, but I'll say it. We changed our flag so the merge at the point, the four corners looked better.
Well, not just the four corners, but that Union style flag was still carried on by multiple states. I mean, New York, New Jersey, Indiana,
Pennsylvania,
Pennsylvania,
we still have ours.
and so like a lot of people, he did it. The McCoy was the one who initiated that bill. He did it because he went to Mount Rushmore and all the flags were laid out, and he had a hard time finding the Utah flag. Me, as a guy who likes flags and geography, I'm fairly good at both those subjects. I usually have an easy time finding it, but
Me
so
too.
I get it on both sides. Part of the argument with the restore the Utah flag is they're mad about the price. Well, that price has been paid, so
Yeah, what are you gonna do now?
part of it is people just think that it's kind of a they think it's a woke takeover, which if I was in Minnesota, I would definitely agree. Minnesota has become little Somalia, and they reflect that in their flag.
Yeah.
Look up the Somali flag and the Minnesota flag, and they just changed it. They couldn't have gone closer. But, and then part of me likes the idea of coming up with a proud flag, like Texas has a proud flag, California has a proud flag, New Mexico has a proud flag, you know? Oklahoma has a proud flag. So part of me thinks, I think it's kind of cool to come up with a proud flag. I wish we'd have put the Utah Raptor on it. That would have been quite cool. The only flag with the dinosaur on it. How would that have been?
That would have been
But
cool.
we, missed that one, and we simplified it to a beehive, red, white, and blue mountain sky range. Um,
I
that,
like the symbolism in the flag. Like I think it does a lot, you know.
yeah, industry and all that. I've got no issue with the new flag, but a lot of people do, and most of them are, well, all of them are on the conservative Republican side, and all of them. I think had they done the flag change at a different time, it might have come easier. But I think at the time, you got look at let's look at the Biden administration's going to go down as an utter failure because from
Yeah.
from the national side, we were forced to pay for his or his assistants, whoever's ideas that were expensive and demonstrably damaging to our society.
Well,
That
they were,
open borders policy, we are going to pay for that. That's going to be a very expensive toll. One way or another. The worst way is if what everyone thinks. There's a guy, Michael Yon. Look him up. Is it Michael Yon? Yeah, look him up after this. Um, what he thinks is that Chinese special forces snuck in, and they're somewhere. We don't know where they are because we don't have the accounting of how many Chinese made it across. But what he saw in the Darien Gap scared him, and he's an ex-Green Beret, and he's like, "There's something happening here."
it's very interesting too because my issue with the Biden administration is it feels very on par with like it was like a pause. It didn't really do anything. You know what I mean? And I think like a lot of people can say like at one point he could have passed some bills, like some real bills, and just didn't. And like that's the hardest thing for me to get over is just like it became, well, we need to be the status quo, and it's like, but why? Like
Well,
why are
no,
we,
he really didn't, though.
you don't think he was just a status quo of do
Oh,
nothing?
no, not at all. Not all. Here's what the Biden administration reminds me of is that he had a whole bunch of young people, children really, underneath him that had all these lofty progressive ideas, the communist ideas, but progressive ideas. And they got in there. How many times did he get shut down by the Supreme Court?
True.
They kept trying to push, oh, we're going to forgive all the student loan. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And he kept, because they were freaking children. They were immature children shooting these crazy ideas out.
Well, when he tried to, like, you can't do, like, executive, like, once again, like, even our current president, some of the executive orders, like, baffling to me. But, like, with the student loan, like, that's a budget thing. Like, I don't understand how you can just assume that the U.S. government is going to take that on by one person's stroke of the pen. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there has to be checks and balances. And I believe in, like, I believe the student loan situation in this country is insane.
It is.
One, I think it's predatory.
But why is it predatory? This is what you have to come down to. What is predatory?
My problem with it is we've told kids the best way you can succeed is by going to university. And I don't think we've done a very good job at educating kids to understand how much their degree is going to cost at the end of the day and what are they going to make out of it.
When they started telling kids that, though, degrees didn't cost that much. What made degrees cost that much?
I think the colleges got greedy somewhat.
Why did they get greedy, though?
Oh, my God. I imagine there's a couple of reasons.
Because the government came and said to the colleges, here's your free money.
Mm-hmm.
Accept anyone and everyone. Don't check on them. Don't see who they are. Don't see if they qualify. Don't even care about whether you're giving them a degree that'll make them money. There's a degree at BYU and Taylor Swift. Make that make sense.
Really? I gotta look this up now.
I don't know if it's a degree, but it's a class. Talk about wasting money, wasting my money that they stole from me, then borrowed to you. Wasting money. If you took that class, you should be kicked right in the butt.
Well, that's my problem is like, I was recently talking to a family member on my husband's side of the family, and he has an aunt that really believes in like art degrees. And I personally don't.
What are you going to do with an art degree?
Art's my thing. I remember when I came home to my dad and I said, Dad, I want to be a music teacher. And he said, do you like to eat? Do you like having
Your dad's
a house?
right.
And it was like a harsh thing, but like truthful. And that's the thing is like, I look at some of these kids getting, like I used to do Sally Mae collections. And you would see what some of these people paid like at NYU or anywhere. And then you would look to see what they like either were attempting to get or did get. And it's like, yeah, what are you going to do with this like pottery degree, you know?
Yeah, pottery or African studies or Chicano studies or even, God forbid, American studies. Those are degrees that will take you exactly to nowhere.
Right. And like my big thing is like, if you're going to do this stuff, cool. But at least make sure you can like, my dad's biggest thing was like, we did not come to this country for you to not get somewhere in life, like for you not to be successful. And I think that's very true because like even today in my current climate of what I do, like I was able, like anytime I thought to my dad about going to get a degree, my dad's big thing was like, but what is the financial benefit of you getting a degree? And like, the latest one is like I've talked about getting my MBA, and my dad's like, but for what? You know, like, and I talked to my dad and my mom about this stuff, and both of them did not go to college, so makes things interesting. But you know, these are just things we have to talk about with kids, and I don't think we're doing a very good job. And I get in trouble because I push the military all the time. Because I'm like, If you can't afford college, join the military.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean,
It's
it's
an
getting
option.
harder to join the military now, too. They're going to draw back. Pretty soon, the military is going to be all robots.
You don't, but they kind of need like to think like that, I would imagine, because people aren't joining as much as they used to, you know?
Well, of course, we had a big ramp up to go into the war on terrorism. And now we're not in that war on terrorism, so we're drawn back. But then again, it sounds like Trump might bring us into the war on Venezuelanism. Um, I don't imagine we'll have to wrap up heavy for that, but maybe. I don't know. I don't know what Venezuela, what kind of military they have. I do think we need to draw down the size of our military, but I'm more of a guy who thinks we should go back to pre-World War II military. I'm a crazy
Mhm.
person like that, but you know what? You can point it out. I'm okay with it. Um,
I mean, like, I don't know. It's just so interesting to me because our military is huge, but like the biggest thing I keep hearing from my friends and family who are still in is just like the amount of recruits that, like my best friend, he's in the military, and he's like, there's not that many people that can do my job in the military. And he's like, they need to find more people that can do what I do. You know what I mean? And he fixes airplanes, and I don't think
mhm.
that's going out of fashion anytime soon, but I could see the robots thing.
Yeah,
And
I don't
we're
know.
kind of fighting
I
wars
mean,
like that too right now, right? With
look at Ukraine,
yeah.
Ukraine and Russia. That has been a war that has shown a lot of promise for the future of drones.
The the Ukrainian war has definitely, I think, educated us on what is possible for these wars going forward.
For me, it reminds me of the Russo-Japanese War that led into World War One. It showed us what the warfare coming out of the U.S. Civil War was going to look like.
Yeah, I could see that. It's just so interesting to me, just the whole thing of like, as military technology advances, like what does that look like? Um because like we started doing drones probably in the Obama administration, or was that Bush?
Uh, Drones started under Bush, really got used under Obama. Uh, Trump used them as well.
And Biden.
Biden used them a little bit less, but this is more on an individual level drone. It's it's going to be interesting.
Hmm.
Um, but matter of fact, if you read about the Russo-Japanese War, Teddy Roosevelt got a Nobel Peace Prize for bringing peace to that war. And he was disliked for all the same reasons Trump is bombastic and blowhardy and all that. What if
That sounds
Trump
on
gets the
brand for
Nobel Peace
him.
Prize? What's that?
I said that sounds very on brand for him.
What if Trump gets a Nobel Peace Prize? Oh, never mind. I'm going off track on my seeing parallels. Let's read some comments and then close this down.
Okay.
All right, David says, what is the point of an invasion in a modern age? Very true, but the U.S., again, is the land of milk and honey. It has a river, a huge river that cuts right down the middle of it. It's got every type of geography you would want. I mean, everything. And it's huge. And it's got oceans to the east and west. It's got a hat up top that gave up their guns, and I mean, all they can do is drink maple syrup. And it's got a place down below us that couldn't come together to, I don't know, even put together a decent soccer team. So yeah, that's why. Um, he also says, how close to shrugging off the need for government are we today? That's a good question. Scary thing is, I think we'll be closer to shrugging off the need for government once people decide to have AI take over decision making on that level. I don't think it'll be so that we can have individual rights, liberty, and property ownership. It's just going to be for that. We'll have to see what happens after the boomers die as well. The boomers still control so much of the voting and monetary market and housing market. We might be a totally different country in 10 years after the boomers go. And us Gen Xers, we're going to pay the price. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't disagree. Like I think a lot of I feel like so much is up in the air until boomers start going like more rapidly
Yeah,
because they just control such a large portion of the wealth in this country.
everything.
Like amongst
They
other
still
things,
dominate our governance.
right? Like it's hard to even say. I have a personal belief that I have a personal belief working in politics as long as I have many politicians, Democrat and Republican, have not done very good, especially those older ones, about ensuring the next generation can govern. And I think we're going to be running up against a lot of, like, as this starts, like, they start passing away, we're going to have, like, some very green, wet behind the ears individuals, trying to govern without the railing, so to speak.
The
Um,
boomers, by far, are the worst generation. It's
by far,
awful.
large and large and
Selfish. God, if there wasn't so many of them, we'd have been okay. But they're so self. Every law that's been written over the last 40 years has been because they are the biggest generation to ever exist on Earth.
well, it makes you wonder too. Like everyone talks, like all my life, all I ever heard was, "There's going to be no social security when you're this age, right?" And it's like, could you imagine like us not having to support the boomers anymore? Do you know what I like?
Mm,
Like what happens that day? That we're just like, oh shoot, we don't have to pay for that. Like those things intrigue me. So no, but I don't disagree with a lot.
yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But then again, we keep shrinking in population size, so things are going to get touchy.
Yeah.
David talking about the monarchies or the Habsburgs, he says they inbred to conserve the gold. Then he said, I'll vote for him. I think he was talking about Charles the Decrepit or whatever his name was. Why not?
Sure.
Yeah, to conserve the gold. And also, they were of a different time when they thought their blood was actually better than everyone else's. So they would try to mix their blood with their blood and they come out with waterheads. He says, maybe it would be best when we are gestating in glass tanks. Mm.
I don't know what that means.
When we're all made in a test tube.
Oh. I
Um,
mean, we kind of do that now already for some things.
so yeah, some people, if you want a designer baby, you can definitely do something like that. They're expensive.
I looked We've talked about doing it myself, my husband and I, just because of the fact of like with me having the BRCA mutation, they can make it so that you don't pass that gene onward, which is
Seriously, yeah,
very cool, super cool.
it is. It is, and I do think it's if you can. If I shouldn't say if you can. I should say if it's something you want. I think pursuit of having children. It's one of the. It is eternally going to be the best thing I've done in my life.
Right.
Um, David says the law is black or white. When the judge bangs the gavel, AI could do it quicker. I'm sure they could.
Yeah.
Um, I'm sure. And man, imagine if it does go black or white. Like the law is black or white. That's when you start. And maybe we'll have to head that way. I don't know. And then Dave says, "Can you eat a wolf?" Sure, you can.
I don't think I'd recommend it.
Yeah.
It's like
I
people that
imagine.
bear meat and get sick.
What's that?
It's It's like people who eat bear meat and get sick because some bear have like diseases that not even fire can cure.
They might. I've had bear. I'd eat it again. It wasn't bad. It's greasy.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Matter of fact, I am going hunting coming up in 2 weeks and then again in 4 weeks. So going after my pronghorn and then my elk.
Are you doing it
Hopefully.
here in Utah or?
Yeah. Yeah. Here in Utah, I'm not rich enough to hunt out of state.
My cousin just moved to Colorado and she bought a bunch. She works in like oil.
Uh huh.
She's a chemical engineer and she works in oil and she's in Colorado and she just bought a bunch of hunting season tickets, licenses. And I was like, hey, do you want to come out? She was like, girl, I'm gonna be hunting every moment of my day to make sure I clean out all these tickets that I have.
Good.
So
Good.
good luck to you.
Okay. Norma says government interference causes everything to cost more. Yes, it does. You can teach. You can teach with an art degree at the college level. It's good pay. The problem is if there's a teacher in the front of the class, and that class has 30 students all going after an art degree, only one of those students can replace that teacher. And that's
And the other,
always something to remember. It's not a growth opportunity.
yeah, it's very competitive and it's the first classes to get cut.
It really is. Norma says, gang wars send our gangs to fight their gangs. Hey, I like that idea. And then she says, wasps, not boomers. Well, Norma, WASP means White Anglo-Saxon Protestant. We are all, well, mostly our family's all WASP. Norma is a relative of mine. The reason they say boomers is boomers were the largest generation, which means they have held on to power and wealth longer and at tighter grips. And look at every law written today. Every law from the benefits you get from owning a home, which is dominantly done by the boomers, and those laws came into place when the boomers started buying homes, to every law. Now, look at these new laws that are coming out that are protecting senior citizens from paying bills, from paying certain taxes. Those are also laws that come out with boomers. The problem with boomers is how large that generation was, that they have moved as a voting bloc to protect themselves at every stage of their life. And they've done it at the cost of every subsequent generation, which are paying their bills now.
Right.
It's not a personal affront to any single boomer. My father's a boomer. My aunt's a boomer. I love them both dearly. It is as a voting bloc. The arguments right now, the argument you hear from all of them right now is, how do we make sure that we don't have to pay taxes on our home? You watch and see, property taxes for retirees is going
It's
to
going to go away.
It's going to go away nationwide. They were fine with it being there when it was their parents or their aunts and uncles. When it was the greatest in the silence, they were fine with that tax being there. But now that it's them, they're going to make it go away at the cost of their children and their grandchildren. It's something to remember. When that vote comes up to take away your have to pay property taxes because you don't have any kids that go to the school, you're going to vote, yes, let's do away with it. Mm-hmm. And that's just going to raise tax and lower benefits on your children and grandchildren. And you're going to get it because you're the largest generation. And then after all you guys go away and the Xers and the millennials inherit your stuff, the millennials and the alphas are going to steal it from the X's, and the X's are going to die in their kids' home. That is what's going to happen. And that's why you should have kids, so you have someone's house to die in.
It's very true because we're seeing a lot with like a lot of the X generation, even some boomers, you could say, they don't have retirement sometimes set up for like the end of life stuff, especially for the Xers that have lived consistently through paycheck to paycheck. And it's like, what are you gonna do? You know, like, and that's the scary thing is
Oh,
just
I plan on dying on the job.
a lot of people I know feel that way. Like,
That's 100% my plan. Because I know none of these benefits are going to be there for me. I haven't been the most responsible person in life, and I know I'm not going to have any of the safety nets available for me. So I'm going to die on the job. You know, be it
yeah,
heart attack, some kind of rare cancer, maybe an accident because of either of the other two. That's just how I plan on going. And then they can hit the great reset button for the millennials and they can start over, and it's cyclical. It happens.
right. It's just interesting the whole thing. Um,
Yeah. Uh, Jordan on YouTube says, "Woohoo! Party with the Italians." And then he asked, "There's a Taylor Swift degree at BYU. Did BYU go that woke?" Okay,
I looked
not a
it up.
degree.
They
There's
don't
a
have a
class,
degree. Yeah, there's no degree,
but
but
there's still a class that costs money.
yeah, I mean, like if you're wanting to
You're going
spend it,
into debt to learn about an empty-headed musician.
that is between them and their God. I would just be
No, that
curious.
is between them and our government that they're going to cry about getting debt relief for.
Yeah, I don't know, and I don't know how that works with BYU being a private institution of how much money they get.
You still get a student loan. I
So yeah,
guarantee everyone at BYU is cruising student loans.
I would imagine.
And then he says, a girl I knew in high school now lives in Alberta, Canada. We are totally going to be a different country. Yeah, that's the thing. We have to maintain. America is the best because of its Bill of Rights. That's why we're the best. We're not the best because we have a cool looking flag. We're not the best because we build better whatevers. We're the best because we have the freedom of speech, the teeth to defend that speech, and then also soldiers can't stay in our house, but that's neither here nor there. And we have the right to be secure in our stuff. We have the right to a speedy trial. We have the right to not be tortured. That's why we're the best, because these things, excuse me, are enumerated. And you got to remember, our Constitution isn't like other constitutions where the government can do this. Our Constitution is the government will not be able to do this. They can't cross these lines. That's why we're the best. No other reason. Well, and geography. Geography, we've got it pretty sweet in our geography. Norma says, nope, not going away, hopefully reduced. If they voted for it, if they put a vote out for it to go away, everybody in that generation would vote to make it go away.
For
And they
sure.
just would. They would just vote to make it go away, no matter the cost, because they're at that time alive when it would be comfortable for that. And it would go away, and then the Xers would hopefully be able to pick up the pieces while the millennials take over. That's just what's going to happen. And I'm not blaming them. I'd vote the same way.
Right.
There's been intellectuals. This isn't me. I'm not dreaming none of this stuff up. There's smart people that study this stuff. I just read what they say. And
No,
they've
and
studied this.
I think this idea that like we have to think logically of like how people react. To pretend like we'll do the for the greater good or whatever, I don't believe in that. But
Some
that is
people might. And that's why religion's good, because it makes people as a community. But you can't religion all the boomers. And then she says the rich don't pay taxes. That is a big argument. Yes, on the whole,
when you look at like
the rich
inheritance
don't
tax,
pay the same percent as the poor in taxes, but they pay 90% of the taxes. But they also hold 98% of the wealth. So it's a conundrum. I don't know what the fix to that is.
I'm very pro
Yep.
raising taxes on the rich.
Sure, but I mean, if you do that, what happens if the people who invent and make things and design the future leave?
I don't think it'll happen, but I do think the other thing
But
you have
it's
to keep
happening in England over the last 50 years.
but I think
What
the other
has England invented in 50 years? What has England done that prospers for the world in 50 years?
One Direction.
What's that? Oh, the band?
And yeah,
And where
that
did they end up? They all live in LA now, right?
yeah, well, and I think the biggest thing you have to remember too is like when you know these like because I know a few very, very wealthy individuals. And
Mm-hmm.
the big thing that they have always explained to me is their ability to recoup their loss on those money because of their investments. You know what I mean? For us to give them X
Yeah,
amount of cash, they get it back so much faster. And so it's not as big of a hindrance for them like it would be for us.
they
And so
do. And also they set it up so most of the money that they bring in doesn't come to them, so it's not taxed.
right. And there's a lot of like safe havens for them for it.
100%. Well, I mean, look at now. Norma says a flat tax, 10% flat tax. I would dig that.
I wouldn't hate
Um,
it.
I
I
would
would
dig a
for it.
because you could plan for it. You wouldn't have to kneel before the IRS and shiver as they look down their noses at you and decide your fate.
Yeah, I would be down for a flat tax
Um,
personally. But
or
it's
even a 15% or 20%, something I could plan for,
yeah, to
or
understand
10% to
it.
the nation, 10% to the state, and 10% to the city, whatever. Honestly, I don't think citizens should ever have to pay directly to the nation. I think all taxes should have to go through the city or the county, whatever municipality you're directly in contact with. I think that's the best way to equalize taxation without representation or
Do you
with
know
represent. What's that?
I was gonna tell you, speaking of taxes, remind me. So I was just home, like I said, a week ago, and my sister was explaining to me that she has to pay a tax. She lives with my parents. She has to pay a tax for just living there. And it's like $15, I think she said a month that she owes the city for just living in the town.
Really?
Yeah, it was crazy. I thought you would find that wild. I had never
That
heard of
is
this thing.
that is wild. They sat down. Remember, I want you to think about this. Some stuffy SOBs sat down and put that pen to paper.
Right, and most of the town is conservative, and so, like, I was really shocked that they had that because she was saying that, like, they're struggling with ensuring that, like, all the millennials are paying because they don't own houses, and so they're living with mom and dad like my sister
Yeah.
does, and my sister's like, God bless her, she's a wonderful person,
How do the
and
taxes like? Do they send you a letter?
so if they can find you, yeah, I guess they're sending letters. But my sister, God bless her, was worried about going to tax jail that she called them and said, I know I have to pay this, so I'll
Look, you
pay it.
owe us $185 for the
Right,
year 2024.
right. And my sister's like just a good person, and she's just like, I'll just pay it. I don't want to go to jail. And it's like, Becca, you're not going to go to jail for this.
Oh man, well, I guess it's a way to eke out property taxes. I mean, when we go to electric cars, we're going to have to rewrite almost the largest part of our tax code
Yeah.
to deal with the roads.
Yep. It'll be interesting to see how that goes. Not only just the roads, but also the how we do like certain aspects of registration, you know what I mean? Like cuz we make money. Well, I guess now in this state we're not doing as much safety and emissions, but
Yeah, they don't. They gave up on the safety and emissions. What was about a decade ago?
17.
They've
Yeah, I
talked
was
about
sad.
bringing them back, but then
I
again,
would
the emission.
I would like them to bring back the safety one. I really don't care about the emission one as much because I'm tired of seeing these bald tires in the snow that you know darn well would not pass.
Well, the safety only. I mean, that only guarantees the vehicle's safe right then.
Right.
I mean, the safety that was they did a study with Arizona, and it was like Arizona had no safety, and it actually saved Arizona money to do away with it. And when Arizona did away with it, it didn't have a increase in the accidents, or not a drastic enough one where they cared about it. So they mirrored
My
that.
my wondering would be is because like Arizona doesn't get snow like we do. Like
Yeah, but
what the difference? Like that's my gripe. I just am sick of the ball tire.
my question is have we had an increase in vehicle deaths due to safety lapses in the state of Utah in the last 10 years?
Yeah, I don't know.
And that would be where the study, if they weighed out and said, yes, we have, then I could see them enforcing that. But the problem with that safety thing is that only hurt the poor. It
Yeah.
only eliminated the poor from being able to get to work. It only
Yeah.
eliminated the poor from being able to climb out of being poor. So I'm all for them doing away with it. Let's give the poor a chance to buy that beater car and make it to the job for 3 months while they saved up to buy a better car.
So according to this, there has been an increase of 11%.
11%, but also in the same time, they increase the speed limit on all our freeways.
Mhm.
So does that add into it?
Yeah.
But call this my bleeding heart Democrat coming out. I don't think we should punish the poor.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. It's just so interesting thing. But well, I need to go and feed
Yeah, I do too. Everyone, thanks for joining us. If I said anything that offended you tonight, please don't take it personally. Again, it's just me repeating what smart people have said. I am a dum-dum. But it's not I don't know. Things aren't looking doom and gloom, right?
I mean, I don't think so, but I don't read the news, so that probably helps.
There you go. The news would like you to think so because that sells. But
Yeah.
things are looking okay. I mean, we're in an inflationary cycle. It seems like we're trapped in it, but we've been in essentially an inflationary cycle since the 80s. And I think we're going to stay in that since the time the boomers reached maturity.
Yeah.
We have been in an inflationary cycle. It's been growing. Yet again, another thing smart people said, the boomers wrote laws to keep that climb going. We haven't had the dips that we should have had. It's not, and that's not blaming all boomers. That's boomers will vote for what benefits them, just like I would too. But I'm a Gen Xer. We're the smallest generation. We're the gum on your shoe that will be scraped off when it's inconvenient and you hear it sticking to the floor.
The latchkey kids, the forgotten ones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we don't need to talk about my childhood today, though. Everyone, thanks for joining us. Have a good weekend. Katie, thanks for coming on last minute. As always, you are very fun to talk to, very intelligent lady. What do you have going on right now that anyone might want to hear about?
Nothing much. Just currently working on. I was appointed to be an ambassador for the National Organization of Italian American Women here in Utah. So if you're Italian and you want to join us, reach out.
All Guidos,
All Guidos,
rise up.
Yeah.
And also, if you're looking for information how to get involved with the Cancer Society, she's your contact. Katie L. Adams-Anderton. You can find her through me. I will send you to her. She's the lady. She's the one spearheading it. And if I want the government to spend money on stuff, spend it on that. We've been promised. Every president says I'm going to cure cancer. And yet the problem is there's so many different cancers.
In so many different ways and different
people. Yeah.
And different people. And that's a big problem.
I'm finding out through my uncle, some treatments that he gets works great for him and wrecks other people. Right. And they'll work something great for them and wrecks him. Man, who knows what it is? Remember, we are a gajillion cells all living in one thing. And sometimes the cells don't like their friends. back to a high trust society. And so they start doing their stuff.
Yeah. No, totally agree.
All
All
right.
right. Thank
Have
you,
a good
Frank.
weekend.
You
Thank you,
too.
Katie.
Anytime.
And if
Bye-bye.
you ever have anything going on, again, let me know so I can advertise it for you.
Anytime. Thank you. Bye-bye.